Second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Another great Saturday that you and I will share car stories and information, and that's really what I'm here for. I know that our lives as we know it, or have known it, have changed. And this too shall pass. But in the meantime, there are some things that we all have to endure and go through. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the good things that are happening. And also, I think that it would be helpful. And so I've put together a list for you of a few things easy things, that's the optimum word there, easy things that you can do for your stored or seldom used vehicle, which is really appropriate right now because not many of us are driving for long distances and may not for a while. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. When your car isn't stopping like it used to, the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the brake parts and supplies that you need to repair your car right the first time. And now, for a limited time, you can save 15% when you buy a set of Brake Best pads and 2 Brake Best rotors. That's Brake Best pads and rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Your calls at 888-227-2546. When I come back, don't touch that dial. Let's get ready to rock and roll. It's Car Talk. Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com. All automotive parts are not created equal. In the service bay this week, a 2015 Mustang V8. Owner dealing with sluggish performance, poor fuel economy, and the dreaded check engine light. We retrieved trouble codes for the left bank O2 sensors, shorted heater circuit, and left bank's rich fuel mixture condition. Time for new oxygen sensors. The vehicle had about 150,000 miles, and its owner sheepishly admitted he'd always use the cheapest fuel he could find. Definitely a recipe for failure. We called the customer, recommended installing new Motorcraft oxygen sensors. The customer agreed, so we installed the new sensors, cleared the codes, and performed a road test. The fuel trims returned to normal, and the car ran great. No codes reset. Another quality repair using Motorcraft replacement parts. Motorcraft parts are specifically designed for all your Ford and Lincoln repairs and are backed by a limited 2-year unlimited mileage warranty, including up to $150 in labor and with no commercial exceptions. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. Learn more about Motorcraft oxygen sensors and other high-quality vehicle-specific parts at motorcraft.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, coming to you from the center of the automotive universe. And I guess words couldn't be any more accurate. We are the center of the automotive universe. And our studio is located inside a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop. And I have to tell you, this room feels really good. And I want to thank, before we get started, our crew, that Jonathan and Fabio, longtime associates here, and then John Irvin is the newbie, and today he's sort of getting practice on the board so that we can all cross-train. And so I want to thank you, take this time on the air, guys, to thank you very much for wiping the control room down. We use sterile wipes to wipe the control room, and it just feels like a great environment. And the safety of it is ultra important. And for you out there, folks, I wish for you and your families the best of health. In the meantime, let's talk automobiles. Again, please make your calls earlier so that we don't get rushed toward the end of the program. 888 Car Clinic, that's 888-227-2546. Let's take a trip down to Daytona. And a very familiar person here, Terry Saveston, who is the you're laughing already. He's the motorsports director for WNDB 1150 News Talk there in Daytona Beach and Ormond Beach. So, Terry, I know there's nothing going on at the track today, so welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Don't tell me this is a regular call about a car.
Yeah, well, yes, it is. But, no, it's an irregular call.
Oh, irregular, right.
Because nothing's wrong with my car.
That is irregular. Well, hey, how many miles on your car?
167,000.
Oh, gosh. You just don't know there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, yes, I do. My car is well maintained.
Hey.
I have a mechanic that goes through it and checks it, and everything's running great right now. I don't have any issues.
That is terrific.
But here's my concern.
Okay.
Here's my concern, Bobby. This is a daily driver, and I mean driver. I don't sit around. I go. A non-stop, stop and go all day long. I could drive 100 miles and never leave the Daytona Beach area on a daily basis.
Wow.
And 300, 400, 500 miles a week average.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I got 5 miles this week.
Wow.
And that concerns me. I'm an Air Force guy. When you take an airplane and you put it on the ground and you don't fly it, it breaks more than when you do.
Yes. So
what can I do? I've got some time on my hands, but my car's in good shape. But I know I can't drive it 100 miles a day.
Well, here's the main thing that concerns me about cars. In fact, it's really ironic. I'll tell you how ironic it is, Terry, that you called and asked this question, because yesterday, as I was preparing for the program, I put together the easy things that you can do for your stored or seldom used vehicle. And the first thing that I had listed was a battery boost. And as you know, they make battery tenders or battery chargers or what have you. The least expensive thing, and you should have one of these around the house anyway, for different reasons. If you've got other vehicles or other 12-volt units that need to be charged, a battery tender now used to be that a battery tender would charge about 8 amps, and then ultimately it would come down to 2 when the battery, reached a full charge. But it would still continue to charge. It's like it didn't know when to shut off. So years ago, they modified, or not modified, they redesigned the chargers, and there's one that's put out by Clarius, you hear me talk about. It's the Optima, and it's a digital 400. It's a charger, but it's a performance enhancer, and here's the bottom line, a maintainer. So you should start and so let me go through just some of the things that I have, Terry, because they're pertinent. And this is a short list, folks. And this is for you as well. And Terry, I'm glad that you called, so stay with me. Start your car every couple of weeks, but allow that engine to reach operating temperature. If you're not going to drive your car, do not start your car, because every time you start your car, the first 5 minutes of running creates moisture not only in the tailpipe, as we all know, but creates moisture within the engine itself, and that moisture gets into the oil. And it's just like when you store a car, you should always store a car with fresh oil and filter, because as you drive a vehicle, there's an accumulation of condensation in the oil. And so that condensation only cooks out when the engine reaches 220 degrees, which is beyond the 212 boiling point of water. But it also must be at that operating temperature long enough so you drive down the road long enough to boil the water. So if there's 4 ounces, 5 ounces of, which is easy, accumulation of condensation in the oil, that condensation can rust bearings and cause damage. So the first thing you do is get a battery tender, and you can, O'Reilly Auto Parts sells those, and I recommend the Optima. They're partners, but they're sponsors. But by the same token, I use one on my own automobile. I did before and have for a long time. So then, with regard to, let's shift to the battery, windshield wiper blades. I mean, the worst thing in the world is windshield wiper blades, because they kind of stick to the windshield. So you can put little chocks under the arms to keep the blades off the window, but that's too much of a hassle, because if you forget it, then you turn the wipers on, then where do those chocks go? So an easy thing to do is take a couple of paper towels, Terry, and put under the wiper blades to separate the blade from the windshield, so the blades don't stick to the windshield. And that tears and it damages it may not tear the blade in half, but it damages the scraping edge of the blade. And then the parking brake. Don't use a parking brake. Do not use a parking brake on a vehicle. Put it in park and let it be done. If it's a standard transmission, put it in reverse or first gear, because that maintains the car, it won't let it roll. The reason you don't use a parking brake is, number one, it could rust and not release. And of course, for your car, that probably wouldn't happen, because you've driven this car normally and regularly every day. But if your car has rear drums, you shouldn't use the parking brake anyway, because that forces the drums to take an irregular shape, because they're warm when you park the car. You put the brake on, and it pushes out on the bell of the drum, and the drum doesn't have a good memory, and it may not come back. And then also, depending on where you park the car, a sunshade is always, a car cover, of course, is great, but a sunshade across the windshield, because you're in Florida, that the UV rays from the sun just destroy the upholstery and the dash especially. Any other questions?
No, I think that's it. And with the we call them a trickle charger, we use those on our transmitters for our generators.
Yeah.
Know what that is, and just like I say, concern. My wife has a 16 Honda, and I'm not really worried about it. She doesn't drive it about 30 miles a week on a regular basis, so it's a low mileage car and full warranty and everything. But my old Jeep, like I say, we're talking about a 20-year. And I try to keep it maintained, but this just concerns me, because this is when things tend to go, is when things sit.
Right, and Terry, you also use a fuel stabilizer, because
Okay.
you're gonna and keep the tank full. And of course, normally and you say, well, gosh, why? Because we don't know, we're sort of in a crisis right now, but always keep the tank filled, because you just don't know how long it's going to be before, or if the gas station would shut down. And I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't want to preach doom and gloom here, but by the same token, there's nothing like having a freshly filled tank. And then also, you definitely want to run at least 3 psi of pressure above the recommended pressure in the tires, because one of the things that tires will do is flat spot. And while it's true that the flat spot will roll itself out, sometimes over time it does not. So you can run a little extra pressure. And for those cars that are going to spend a long time parked, I mean, you can put as much as, get this, 10 pounds of pressure, 10 psi of pressure above the recommended. So here's a car that you might run 32 psi in. You could put 40 pounds of air pressure in that tire because you're not driving it very often, and that helps the tire not to flat spot. Anyway, I'm really glad you called, man. It's great.
We've already noticed that with the Wise Honda.
Yeah.
Went out in it. I drove it the first time, and I'm like, this is a rough ride. And I'm like, this thing's been sitting for, 5 days.
Exactly.
And it never sits that long.
That's right.
So, and I'm like, it'll smooth out. Just got to drive it a little, get the tires warm, and sure enough. But, that's the concern, is little things like that. And you just got to keep an eye on it. I'm checking fluids and everything. I mean, nothing dripping. Like I said, I got a 20-year-old vehicle, so I got to make sure it's right. And this just is letting it sit. It's not something I like to do with any vehicle.
No, and to that end, Terry, one of the things, and I'll close with this, if you've got a couple of trips that you need to make during the day, let's say, you must do, right?
Yes.
Try to combine those trips so that when you do start that car, it's run long enough to bring the transmission and coolant and the engine up to operating temperature, because then it becomes and stays healthy. Got a break. Thanks, Terry, for calling. Stay tuned. Folks, we only partner with companies we believe in, like K-Seal, which is an excellent option for repairing a coolant leak, especially for older vehicles that may not be worth the cost of repair. But don't take our word for it. K-Seal was recently used to repair the block on a 1913 Type 22 Bugatti, the oldest running Bugatti in the U.S. The vehicle is worth approximately $2 million. K-Seal is available nationwide at parts stores like Advance Auto Parts. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it. It's time for another Berryman Testimonial, where everyday drivers share their experiences with products featuring Hest, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Ronald writes in about his 95 Olds 88. Carbon deposits were causing problems with the NOx sensors, which resulted in lower fuel economy, 21 miles per gallon. After using Berryman's B12 Chem tool, MPG is now in the 29 to 31 range. Learn more about Berryman products and their Hest technology at berrymanproducts.com. Folks, this week we had a 2010 Jaguar XF come in with a complaint that the owner could not fill the gas tank. Tommy, our ASE certified technician, scanned the electronics, tested the module that sends the signal to the gauge, and even removed the back seat and fuel tank access cover to determine exactly how much gas this car really had. It was only 3/4 tank, just as the gauge read. He also checked our database for any relevant TSBs. Great move. Seems Jaguar had issues with some filler necks. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts store and asked them to help us locate the parts needed, as there is no local Jaguar dealer. Much to our delight, our local O'Reilly Auto Parts manager found the part, ordered it through his partner stores in another city, and we were able to repair this customer's car without her having to drive to the dealer in another state. We may have taken a bit longer to complete this job, but we made a new customer happy, and she'll come back to our shop whenever she needs any future services. This Car Repair Spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
So I have a funny, welcome back. I have a funny for you. I mean, this is what is it? What is great news? Here's great news. Average price of gasoline across the nation. I mean, this is like, wow, this is unbelievable here. The average price this past the 30th of March, which is this past week, was $2.50. That's the average price. Now, there are like 9 regions across the nation: East Coast, New England, Central Atlantic, Lower Atlantic, Midwest, Gulf Coast, which is where we're located, Rocky Mountain, West Coast, and West Coast, not including California. So they break the West Coast into 2. Which sooner or later it may break into 2 by itself. So, but notwithstanding, if we look at gas prices today, and the highest price in the nation is the West Coast, $2.75. The price of gas today versus the same day last year, it is under that is lower. I mean, that's if we look at last week, it's lower. So what's funny about that? Well, it's great to have it. What's funny is who's driving their car? There's not a lot of people driving the highways these days. So that is really something. So I guess the trick would be is, hey, if we all agree that we're not going to drive, the gas company is going to lower the price of gas. Now, I know there's other reasons, but I thought that would be kind of interesting. Okay, so get on your phone and give me a call and let me know what's on your mind. Let me know how I can help you. Jonathan will take your call and doing a great job. Say hello to him, Jonathan Sloan, to 888-227-2546. Take a call from George, who has a 13 Hyundai. George, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby, and thanks for taking my call.
Sure, my pleasure.
Last week I called you, and I told you about a shift lock, and my car kept locking out. I had to push the thing that make it unlock.
Yeah.
You told me to get a shifter solenoid. But being all this corona thing, I haven't had a chance.
Okay.
But I got a different problem now. Yesterday, we went out to go to the store for something, and the car would not start. I'd push the start thing, and the cluster would come on. They would blink and make a clicking noise.
Mm-hmm.
All of the signs, and then I let it set for about 2 hours. And went back out, and it started. And I tried it this morning, and the same thing goes. It goes click, 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 click,
right.
and the lights, all the lights on the cluster light up and clink, clink.
Does this car have the original battery in it?
No. It's got battery in it. It's just 2.5 years old.
Okay, then okay. Go ahead.
And the lights are bright. The headlights.
So here's what I got you. Here's the first thing with a Hyundai that comes to my mind. Right. Hyundai has a battery protector. Yeah, that's a voltage protector, really. But it's a junction block, and it bolts onto the positive side of the battery. And
You're right. I've seen it. You can't even jump. I can't even put no.
Yeah, right, man. I'm telling you, it's really strange. But that unit, did you lift by any chance the plastic cover so you could see under it?
I did.
And is there any corrosion that you see?
No.
Well, that unit is Hyundai has those new units in stock because they have failed, and that unit is a battery protector. And it also comes with a wiring harness. I've put several of these on. It comes with a wiring harness that you don't want to do, but it connects to the battery. It's like a bridge to the car, if you will.
Simple looking thing. I ain't telling you.
Yeah, really. And then the wires from it will go to the engine, to the starter, that also go to the alternator and to, I think, one other main feed in the car. So it would be, here's what I suggest you do. Clean the battery terminals. Can you know how to take them off? It's just a 10 millimeter,
Yeah, I can't get to the terminal with that box on it. The positive one.
Yeah, I know, but there you can take it apart piece by piece. Yeah, I don't know if you should do that. Here's what I would feel comfortable suggesting for you. Okay. And shops are still open. there, wherever you are, shops are still
Yeah.
open. So here's what I would
Right.
suggest: take the car in. Trust me, the shops aren't busy. The shops are
Yeah.
not busy. So whatever shop you use that's convenient for you, go in and
Right.
say, I want you to disconnect the terminals and clean my battery terminals and put them back in. And that's really what I would do, because the reason I say, and normally you wouldn't tell a shop how to fix your car, and I'm not suggesting that you tell them how to fix it. I'm just suggesting that as a first step,
Right.
because when you go to the shop, you know the car's going to crank and run. I mean, once you get it started and running, it's going to be okay the rest of the day. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So rather than do that, and by the way, for those of you who have Elantra, but not Hyundais, and you may want to clean your own, and if you haven't looked under that little plastic cover that George and I are talking about, you need to, because corrosion is an enemy, and we have had several of those that had corroded, and we replaced that unit along with the battery, and so to clean the terminals, even if they look okay, you have to disconnect always, folks. And this is the heads up. Always disconnect the negative terminal first. And the reason for that is, if you disconnect the positive terminal and your wrench touches some part of the car, it will spark and short out. So you want to disconnect the negative, so if you're swinging a wrench or whatever, turning a wrench, and it happens to hit the fender of the car or a adjacent bracket, engine bracket, whatever, it doesn't matter, because it's all negative, it's all ground anyway. So you disconnect the negative terminal. Once that's connected, there's no such thing as a positive terminal, because that would hurt, because there's no connection there. So then you can disconnect the positive terminal, even if you have to take that little box apart. But I forget what they call that, but it's very interesting, and it does serve a purpose of protecting the battery. But ironically, I had a 15 Hyundai in, I don't know, a couple months ago, and sure enough, that was what was wrong with it. I put a battery in it, a new battery, because it had the original, and it was 15, so that's 5 years old. And batteries are good for 3 to 5 years, but this car only had 30,000 miles on it. It's 4 years old, but only had 30,000 miles on it, as I specifically remember. So, George, that's what I would do first. And also, when you're at the service shop, ask them to perform a test on the battery before they clean it, just for grins. That's a test that always should be performed, because just because a battery is 2 years, 2.5 years old, doesn't mean that it's still healthy. Sometimes you just get bad batteries, and some batteries don't last as long as they should. I mean, I don't know if I don't know any bad batteries that are sold. I mean, battery's a battery, but I know some better batteries, of course, the Clarius battery and the Optima battery, the better ones. But so that's what I would do. Have them test the battery as it is, and then if they say, well, your battery's okay, say, good. I want you to now remove both terminals and clean them and secure them and put them back on. And then while they're off, one last thing. In the industry, we have little battery wicks, which are little round donut chemically treated pads that go on the terminal before the cable goes on the terminal, and that absorbs any vapors of gas escaping out of the battery, and that stops any future corrosion, because that's what the acid escaping the terminal. Because you got a big battery post coming through the battery, and the battery is made out of hard plastic or whatever that is, which is one thing. But depending on how secure that terminal is in that battery, you're still going to get some vapors that come through there, and that's a kiss of death. And you can't see them, you can't really smell them, and if you could smell them, then you got a bad battery anyway. Okay, you got it?
I got you, Bob. Thanks a million.
You're welcome a million. Okay. Hey, folks, I want to share this with you. So we gave away a jacket. I was going to do this. I gave away a jacket last week, and to Mike. And where was that, Fabio? Where was that? In Washington State. So we called that number, and we called that number. Finally, the man says, quit calling. My name's not Mike, and you called the wrong number. So I'm going to give away that jacket again this week. And this is it's a leather. It's a prototype that I had made years ago, and I had 20 of them made. And of course, I just kept them. So if you'd like one, you call. I'll put your name in a hat. I'm going to give away that jacket again. It's a medium man's jacket, but if you're 250 pounds, the jacket's not going to fit. But anyway, so that's what you need to do. Call and put your name in the hat, and I want to give that jacket away. It's black. And it's wool. Didn't we agree there, Jonathan, that it's wool jacket, right? Wool blend with where the pockets are. They're little red leather dressed pocket openings. So they covered the little pocket opening with red leather, and then the sleeves are red leather as well with elasticized bands. It's really kind of cool. So it's Bobby Likis car clinic. It's got the logo on it. Never been worn. Been in a protective bag for years. So I'm going to give them away because I don't have any use for them, and I'd rather you wear them. But you have to call 888 car clinic 888-227-2546. Let's go to Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis car clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing, buddy? I talked to you earlier in the week. I just came back from Publix, and I go into my driveway. I've got an 05 Toyota Highlander, the VSR engine check and track light came on. When I went down to the store, it wasn't on. I come back, and it comes on. Any idea what's going on there?
Is the check engine light on?
Yep. Check engine light comes on. When I start it up, check engine light comes on.
Okay.
And then about 3 seconds later, the VSR and track light comes on.
Okay.
The brake fluid is up good. Everything seems to be working. No stuff. And all this, I've never had a problem before.
Okay. So, and you probably do not have a problem with those systems now. Here's the bottom line. When the check engine light comes on, that tells the rest of the modules in the car that the engine has a problem. I tell you what, I've got a hard break coming up. Now's a good time to get in, folks, at 888 Car Clinic. So you call, and I'll put you in the queue. And Mike, you stay right there. We'll talk about it when I come back. With 48 years experience in automotive repair, our service team knows what dirty gasoline does inside an engine. Over time and miles, fuel residue and hot oil vapors create nasty, hardened clusters of carbon that block airflow into cylinders, collect on valves, and build up inside combustion chambers, causing hard starting, rough idle, sluggish engine performance, and bad gas mileage. Solution? Berryman B60 High Mileage Fuel System Rejuvenator. B60 cleans the entire fuel system of all high-mileage gas-powered vehicles with powerful detergents and HEST solvents. That's high-energy solvent technology at work. B60 gives you one-tank cleanup of fuel injectors, intake valves, and combustion chambers. Restore lost power, reduce rough idle, improve fuel economy, and enjoy your drive again. Berryman B60 High-Mileage Fuel System Rejuvenator is the only fuel system cleaner with HEST solvents. Pick up a can at your local auto parts store today. For more, visit BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Wow. So I had to step out of the studio there because we were talking with another associate there, and I just came back in and I forgot about the time. So literally I just sat down, plugged in my headset, and Bobby, I guess you thought, where is he? Okay, let's continue to move. Let's go back to, we were talking with George, right? No, we're talking with Mike. Mike? Yeah, Mike, and folks, 478, 888-227-2546. I'll get it right. Okay, Mike, let's go back to your Toyota. Here's the bottom line.
Okay. Hey.
All right, here's the bottom line.
Go ahead.
Okay. When the check engine light comes on, the other components that are dependent on the engine's control think and see, they don't think, they know there's a problem. And they know that they can't do their job with the check engine light coming on. And here's an example. Let's say that Mike, you are the engine, and you have automatic throttle control, like traction, because traction shuts down the throttle, even though if you're in wet weather and you nail the throttle, the computer's going to shut down the throttle anyway. Even if you hold it all the way to the floor, it doesn't matter, because if the wheels spin for the traction, then the traction control module is going to tell the engine, hey, you got to shut down, so it shuts the engine down. You follow me so far?
Yeah, I got you on that one, Bobby.
Okay. So what if you left the gas cap loose, or for any reason, and the check engine light would come on? The traction control would not know it was so simple as the gas cap loose. It would only know that Mike, who is in control of the engine, was not healthy. Therefore, if I'm the traction control and I have to do my job, but I'm depending on you to do yours because that's part of my job, the first thing I'm going to do in the room of people is hold my hand up and say, hey, I can't do my job. Don't count on me because Mike is crippled or something's wrong with Mike. I don't know what it is, but I just know that his check engine light is on. So don't worry about all the other ancillary components about, they're all bad. They're not bad. They just see that the check engine light comes on and they know that they can't do their job, i.e. traction control. It's typical. Toyota in particular is real finicky about that. So the thing to do is to have the codes read and determine what it's going to take to make the check engine light go away. And once the check engine light, whatever making it come on, is fixed, then clear the other codes and you'll be fixed. You'll be good to go.
Hey, Bobby, you know what? While we were sitting there talking about this, like a dummy, I've got this Fixed D little program that is into the OBD2.
Okay.
And I've got the thing on my phone here. And it may end up, if I go through it, it may end up telling me exactly what's bringing that check engine light on.
Exactly. So do that, and then if and it could be a loose gas cap. It's probably with an 05, you're probably going to have some evap issues. And that's evaporative emission. So it could be something so simple as a vacuum hose, or it could be something so sophisticated as a vacuum canister, which is in some cars they bury them. Don't ask me why, but they do. But anyway, Don't worry about all the VSCs and the tractions and the ABS lights. Don't worry about all those. Get that check engine light fixed. Once that's fixed, or whatever it takes to fix that, clear the codes, and you'll be good to go.
Okay, hey, listen, and I'm going to bring, I keep saying I'm going to bring my '08 Avalon in and have you zero out everything. You did it once before, and I'm going to have you zero it out again.
That sounds great, man. Hey, thanks for your call, and be safe.
You bet, bye.
Let's go to George. George has a Camry, 2000 Camry. George, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Company. Thanks for holding.
Hi there.
Hi, sir. You're on the air.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got a rear main seal they're telling me that's leaking. They want roughly, I think, $700-800 to replace it. They got to drop the tranny down and all that.
Yeah, right.
I have knowledge of 60s cars, not of modern day cars as far as doing that. And,
right.
I mean, we have a lot of time on our hands right now. I was playing with tackling the project myself in the garage, but the car's, worth $2,000, $2,500 best, but there's nothing wrong with it, 240,000 miles. I just want to know if it's possibly worthwhile to tackle this or just keep dealing with the oil leak, putting the pan down in the driveway and all that business.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. How bad?
It's like, if you're driving quite a bit, it's like half a quart.
Oh, so it actually, it runs on the driveway. It's pretty serious then.
I got, pans down in it,
Well, number one, I was going to suggest Berryman's oil rejuvenator, because Berryman makes a product that actually helps stop oil leaks. But if the oil seal is deteriorated to the point that it's pouring oil, I mean, you're not going to fix any car with a canned product. But by the same token, given the fact that you cannot change that seal, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But given the fact that that's something that you cannot tackle, nor should you, you might first. There's no reason not to use Berryman, which is a oil rejuvenator. It's an engine oil rejuvenator, and it has chemicals in it that soften seals and makes the seal more pliable, returns some of the pliability back to the seal, and it cannot hurt, and it can only help. So that's what I recommend to start with. Now, and you have to give it a week or so to see if it's going to work. Now, here's the reason that I do not recommend that you tackle this job. In order to get that front-wheel drive transmission out, you have to have an A-frame cradle that rests on each inner fender well. When you open the hood, you got that little area there where the fender is bolted onto the frame of the car, right?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't put anything on the fenders. But so we have an A-frame, adjustable A-frame that we place on top of the inner fender panel, not where the fenders are painted, but inside. And then we hook a chain and cables to the engine to support the engine, because to get the transmission out, you have to take everything loose, including the subframe. And when you do, the engine's going to fall out. So you don't want the engine out. You want to take this. That's number one. So it takes a lot of special tools. Number two, in the process of replacing and removing a transmission, you have to take the CV joint out, and that takes a act of Congress sometimes. You have to dismantle wires and cables and cooling lines. And the cooling lines, you'd think they'd be a simple connection. Well, they're simple. You touch one, it starts leaking. You put it back together, it's leaking. I mean, there's so many things that you disturb to get this massive hunk of metal out, to get to that little toy seal in there. I call it a toy seal because, seals are small little things that do a big job. So it's not something that you should even consider tackling, and only a qualified shop would do that. And I will tell you this, when you get to the other side of this, whoever replaces the transmission seal, I I recommend you have a good relationship, because in the process of replacing the seal, they're going to find other things like engine mounts, a hose here, a cooling line there. They're going to find some things that either break when they take them apart, or don't want to come apart, or are old and cracked because they've been there for a long time, and now it's like, leave me alone, I'm happy here, but they're not happy now because you're moving things around. So I just want you to warn you of that with an aged car, because you got a 20-year-old car and you got a bunch of miles on it, and it's aged. So anyway, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I figured it probably wasn't worthwhile. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't so far.
Well, I don't know that it's not worthwhile. Here's and one more point, and then I'll let you go. That's always to be considered. If you know this car, which is a used car, 20 years old, and you know that overall it's in decent shape, and there's no surprises. I mean, you know if the transmission's shifting well, the engine doesn't use oil. I mean, doesn't smoke, gas mileage is good, brakes, suspension, yada, yada. So if you know overall the general condition of the car and you're happy with that, as happy as you could be for a 20-year-old car, then the money that you spend to repair that automobile should be considered and in your mindset as buying your own car back versus buying another used replacement. Because if you bought another used replacement, let's just say it was going to take $5,000. It's not. But let's say it took $5,000 to fix your car because you got an engine that's bad. And you say, well, I'm not going to put $5,000 in this car. It's only worth $2,500. So you go out and you buy another $6,000 car, and you keep it for a month, and the engine goes bad in it because it was a used car and you had no way of knowing the condition it was in. And for $5,000, you ain't going to get a good used car unless you happen to be at the right place at the right time, and you knew the car, and the owner's got the service records and wants to get rid of the car. You see where I'm going? So when we have that situation, and we have it often, when we see that situation, we help the owner make the decision to buy his or her car back, because if you bought your car back, you already know what's wrong with it, except you're buying it back without the seal leaking, because that's what you're spending the money on. You see the point there? It's really a service that has evolved, and a mindset that has evolved over the years of repairing automobiles. So that's what I want you to think about.
Right.
Got it?
Okay.
Okay, my friend.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Take care. 888-227-2546. Go to Janet. Janet, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Thank you. I've got a question for you today. I have a 2014 Lexus, and as I'm driving, all of a sudden I'll hear a ding, ding, and there's no lights that go on. And it seems to ding, ding when I go by certain places. I don't know what it is. I've called the company. They have no idea what it is. I've called the dealership. They have no idea what it is. But it's been going on since I bought the car, and I've not been able to find out what's wrong. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong. I think it's just alerting me to something, but I don't know what.
Well, you know what, I ding, ding. Okay, two things. Well, yeah, two things. Number one, does this ding, ding happen with you or by yourself, or with someone else is in the car, or either or?
Either or.
Okay, so other people have heard this ding, ding too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and my sister heard it, and she said that she's got something similar to that, and she's got a Hyundai.
Right.
And no, she's got a Kia. And she said that they told her it was like she's going by some kind of like a school zone or something like that.
No. There's nothing outside. Vehicles are specifically put in chambers, literally with all the electronics, and they've been doing this for 20 years. They being the OEMs, car makers, they put these cars in chambers, and they bombard these cars with radio frequencies and all kinds of Wi-Fi and things to see if they can make the onboard electronics trigger. And because years ago, the ABS, if you had a cell phone, in fact, I've done this. If you had the early model remote telephones, which were big, huge units that fit in the trunk of the car and hooked to Ma Bell, and you hit the microphone, or if you had a CB and you hit the microphone, if it was powerful enough, if you had one of those illegal power amplifiers, the ABS would go bap, 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 and an ABS light would come on because of the RF, and you had to wrap the ABS module in aluminum foil to shield it. So what the manufacturers have done is all of these electronics use shielded cable and shielded wire, and for the most part now they're using fiber optic, which has, other than protective, doesn't need to shield. Here's a bottom line.
Right.
Here's a bottom line. What I believe that you have is a door switch or a seat belt. Of course, if you had a seat belt connector, if you drive without a seat belt, you get this ding ding. And it drives you crazy.
Yes.
Then you hook your belt up.
It doesn't sound like that, though.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
It's possible. Let's see what year it is. What year is it? 14?
It's 2014. Yeah.
It's possible it could be in the navigation system, but I doubt it. Why don't you? And no check engine light comes on, or no warning lights on the dash? Nothing.
No, nothing.
Well,
it always goes off when I go by a certain place.
Always?
Well, the majority of the time that I've noticed, when I go drive a certain area, I hear it and I say, "Oh my gosh, what is? Here it is again."
I want you to record that, and I want you to. Pardon me. I want you to record that, and I want you to determine where you go to make that happen, because you have piqued my interest now, because cars are not interrupted by external forces. They really are not. Unless the external force is somebody with a big bumper and rams you, the cars are not, they don't care. So that's really interesting. So record that. So call me back another day. And it's a 14 Lexus. In the meantime, I'll do some homework, but I got a break coming up. Janet, thanks for your call. Ding, ding. I'll be back.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes in a repair shop beyond diagnosing cars. Sometimes technicians get caught up in a repair that just keeps needing more. Recently, an 05 Saturn came in the shop. A 15-year-old car, 150,000 miles. Our young customer was dealing with a coolant leak, a slow, steady drip on the engine area on the driver's side. After a cooling system pressure test, we determined the lower radiator hose was leaking. We replaced the lower hose, topped off the system, and parked the vehicle. All good. Upon prepping for pickup the next day, you can imagine our disappointment to see coolant leaking from the right side of the radiator. A $500 repair. Our solution? A bottle of K-Seal, which can cost under $20. K-Seal features ceramic technology and is designed to repair leaks without clogging. One bottle will completely solve the problem, seal the leak within 10 minutes. K-Seal is available at fine retailers everywhere, like Napa Auto Parts. So when you have a cooling system that has a leak, don't just seal it, K-Seal it. For more information, go to kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. This is our second broadcast hour of today. And it's a really fast program. The phones are already jammed, so if you call and you're getting a busy signal, just please continue to call. And as quickly as we clear the line, we will open one for you. 888-227-2546. That's 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. Interesting program today, and I've got some things that you need to know about how to take care of your car now that you're not driving your car as often as you probably would like to, for sure. I don't think many of us are. The good news is the gas prices. The bad news is the gas prices. The good news is the gas prices are low. The bad news is we're not driving our cars. What's up with that, folks? 888 Car Clinic. Jonathan will take your call and put it in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by our partners, Berryman Products. You can count on Berryman to provide the products needed to keep your vehicle running during these challenging times. And if you have a little do-it-yourself project, any type of fuel, chemical additive, oil additives, Berryman is the ticket. BerrymanProducts.com. Just remember that, BerrymanProducts.com, and take a look at all of their suite of chemicals for your car, and you'll love it. Oh, I'm Bobby Likis, your host. Like us? You'll love us. When I come back, we'll take George's call first and then yours. Coolant leaks can be expensive, with repairs costing a few $1,000s or more. And these problems often hit vehicles late in life when they may be only worth a few $1,000s. There is an alternative. K-Seal is a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
O'Reilly. It's O-Rewards Bonus Points Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Earn double points on all sale items like wiper blades, motor oil, tools, and more. Are your wiper blades streaking, shattering, or skipping? Save $8 per pair on Bosch Icon wiper blades, plus earn double O-Rewards points. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You've heard me talk about Motorrad's leading the way with automotive thermostats, fuel, oil, and coolant caps. Now, Motorrad's using their expertise in Tier 1 OEM facilities to deliver advanced engine management solutions. Products like camshaft and crankshaft sensors, ignition coils, mass airflow sensors, even variable valve timing solenoids. And Motorrad's aftermarket products are designed and manufactured to meet or exceed original equipment specifications. Learn more about Motorrad products and industry-leading application coverage at Motorrad.com.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grown. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started. Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by K-Seal. You can stop the unexpected cooling system leak before it stops you. Well, that's a novel idea. Really? You can find K-Seal at fine part stores nationwide like AutoZone. And folks, you can check AutoZone's website for hours and shipping information. And remember, if you have a cooling system leak, don't just seal it, K-Seal it. Go to kseal.com for more information. Let's go to George. George, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes, I have a 2001 Chevy Silverado 2500.
Yes, sir.
I have no blinkers and no brake lights. I didn't have flashers. Checked all the fuses. Found a flasher hazard fuse was blown. Replaced that. So I have my flashers, but I have no blinkers, no brake lights. I have a lawn business. I had one of my trailers had some welding done on it. Was not attached to the truck. Just dropped it off. Had some welding done on it up front, and when I went back to pick it up, hooked it to the truck, and had problems since then. I'm wondering if you have any idea what may
I do. We had a similar experience with a GM vehicle, a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman, a really sharp guy, Steve, who I think has moved to Texas now, and he had a beautiful 5-bay garage on his farm, and it's had a couple of classic cars. So he was not your average do-it-yourselfer. He was, and he built hot rods and things like that. Anyway, he brought his vehicle in, and Johnny and I actually fixed that vehicle. It took us about 3 or 4 days, and what had happened is there was a short in the trailer lights. Something happened to trailer lights. I'm gonna lead my mind in the direction of the trailer that was welded on, because I believe that during the welding the trailer wiring was damaged. And I think that has damaged the vehicle. So I'm trying to think what would be the most vulnerable place to get shorted. Go ahead.
Excuse me for interrupting you, but that's it was right by the tongue. He put a new jack on it.
Right.
Which the jack was right there in the front, right by the wires that connect to the truck.
Right.
The light wires. And that's what I was thinking. I'm a pretty sharp guy, too. But,
I got you.
But I'm thinking that maybe in the welding process he may have touched the wires or something may have dripped on the wires, some welding, whatever, and may have touched those wires and welded them, soldered them, whatever, together. And by doing that and then me plugging that into the truck, that may have shorted out the truck part of the wiring. But I said, well, I listen to you every Saturday morning, and but I'm in Pensacola. But anyway, I just said, well, I'm gonna call Bobby and see.
So George, to that end, of course, you disconnected the trailer, and you still have the problem with the vehicle.
Still have the problem.
Yeah. Well, under the hood, where there's a fuse box.
Right.
On the driver's side.
Right.
That fuse box has a couple of fuses that are part of the turn signal switch operation and hazard flash and brake light. There's a white wire that feeds power from that box all the way down the frame to the back. A white wire. I'll never forget this.
Okay.
You know, it's like one of those things once you trace down and you find it, you say, oh, it's like a needle in a haystack, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So how big is the needle or how big is the haystack? You know the answer to that. So what happens is the brake light switch is where you should start to make sure that you have voltage at the brake light switch.
Now, where is that? Where is that going to be?
It's on the pedal inside the car.
Oh.
So you want to make sure that you got power to the brake light switch, and so that you step on the brake lights, then watch that power transfer to the feed that it feeds to make sure that you got power there. If you don't have power there, fix that part first. I believe you're going to find. I believe you're going to find the issue, and I'm hoping you didn't have any burned wires in the back of the vehicle, but it wouldn't hurt to start at where the trailer plug plugs into the car, and then where all those group of wires come out, and those group of wires run to the taillights, and they run above the frame rail on the driver's side frame rail to the front of the vehicle. That's I know this because I've been there, done that, and then they go up from the driver's floorboard up into the bottom and around the firewall into the bottom of that fuse block assembly, that master black fuse box assembly that you can take it apart and check it. So I would, using a DVOM, or you can use a test light. Check all of your fuses. I'm sure you already done that, but check your brake light switch inside the vehicle to make sure that you got power to it and there. Right. And then there's one last thing that I can tell you that is common on these vehicles that is a delicate spot. And this calls, and I'm not going to scare you here, but you'll find if you'll take the dash plaque apart, and you can take the cluster cover off and take the headlight switch out, you will find that the back of the headlight switch is going to be burned because that's a normal occurrence of those vehicles. And the headlight switch wiring is part of the dash's wiring that you say, oh, I'm not going to fix this because it takes thousands of dollars. But here's what the good news is. If you do find the headlight switch wires are burned at the switch plug-in, Dorman makes a workaround. They make, and I forget the cost of it now, it's a little bit expensive, but not like compared to the wiring harness. Dorman, you can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts, they either stock it or they can get it. They make a headlight switch repair kit that is a main plug that plugs into the headlight switch, and it has about 12 wires that are about 8 inches, 10 inches long, so you can splice and repair those wires. So brake light. So your to do is to check the brake light power and get that working, and then you're also check the fuse blocks and all the relays. There's a couple of relays, and the oddity is that some of those relays have to work in order to put power to other relays. So you can do some tests that you think are okay, but they're not okay because they're not supposed to be working until the preceding relay is kicked in. So it's a little bit confusing, but it's complicated. But that's the areas of where you get the most dangerous. I mean, that's where I think you have found the hottest leads for you. No pun intended. Okay.
All right, I thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling. Good luck, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny, folks, when you can see all these things rolling around in your mind like I do. Let's go to James in New York. James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, how you doing, Bobby? I talked to you a few times before, but you were talking about storage, car storage.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Terry Sabiston called from Daytona early on, and you know, like everyone else these days, I mean, he's only driving his car that he drives as much as 100 miles a day. Now he's driving it 5 miles a week. Really? So
I've had cars that I've stored. I've restored cars for 50, 60 years now.
Oh, great. That's great, man. You and I have a lot in common.
I've had very little, ironically, few problems with storage. I do store them in a storage bag, like a Ziploc bag. You drive them in.
Right.
After you've repaired them and change the oil and fresh oil, so on and so forth, cover them, seal them. But long story short, every once in a while you have a problem. I just got my Corvette out of storage. It's a 66, and just got it drip out of the water pump. And every once in a while you may have possibly an oil leak, small oil leak somewhere. You know, I've got a drip pan under there.
Sure.
Right? But I'm wondering, one more thing before I forget. I was going to tell you this last time. You talk about windshield wiper blades, you're going to think I'm crazy. But I've got 2 cars that I bought brand new in '93. One sport.
So James, let me ask you to hold because we have a heartbreak. And then I'm really interested in your phone call, and I know that Chris is on the phone and Stan. So, folks, stay right there. We'll be back after this commercial break. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org. Today's Repair Spotlight is for gasoline-powered engines with 60,000 plus miles. At this age and high mileage, vehicles can develop irritating small oil leaks that can make a mess and ultimately cause serious damage to engine and chassis components. The solution? Berryman's B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator. It's simple to use and safe for engine components like catalytic converters and oxygen sensors. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator cleans and protects the crankcase and engine oil system on all gas-powered vehicles, and conditions and revitalizes seals and gaskets to help stop oil leaks. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator contains zinc-based ZDDP and molybdenum moly to help fight friction, heat, and wear. It helps prevent sludge formation to maximize engine performance and life. Don't put up with those pesky oil leaks. Add some Berryman B60 to your motor oil and add another level of protection for your engine. Learn more about Berryman B60 and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
Football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Well, folks, welcome back to a fantastic program today. Bobby Likis Car Clinic from 10 to noon every Saturday. Brought to you in part by Clarius. the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, entertainment systems, and all the other electrical demands of vehicles today. You can learn more at autobatteries.com, and I suggest you go there. We're talking about storing of vehicles and auto batteries and batteries. That's where everything really begins, and there's some specifics that you need to know. Check it out at autobatteries.com. Talking to James in New York about storing vehicles, and James has restored a few of his own, so he and I have a lot in common. We won't take all of your time, folks. So, James, you and I have to constrain ourselves. But anyway, you were saying before the break.
I want to hit fast and hard on a few things. Windshield wiper blades. I've got the original blades, belts and hoses on 293 vehicles, and they're all good. But they, like I say, they're driven sparingly. As far as these battery tenders, I'm a little skeptical just because of possibly a fire problem, Maybe I'm just a little skeptical about that. I'm moving on quick to the, I'm wondering, as you're talking about Berryman's B60 oil rejuvenator and K-Seal, I'm wondering if that wouldn't be a preventative additive
absolutely
in these cars that are in storage.
Absolutely. And in fact, you, as you were talking, I was thinking, well, I got to remember the things he's pointing here. First, let me clear up about the chargers. So in 2004, I completed a 9-year restoration of a 911 Classic car that's worth a lot of money. That car sits right outside, inside. It's not a humidity control, but it's inside my 15,000 square foot service shop, and it's 10 feet from the studio door and has been since 04. I've only driven that car 1,500 miles since 2004. The only issue that I had was recently the front brakes, and I had overhauled the calipers, and the front brakes had locked up because the front brake pistons rusted because I didn't flush the system. I didn't flush it. I didn't drive it, and I didn't drive it to get the heat built up in the brakes either, and the exercise of rubber seals, and the pistons corroded. I personally overhauled those in 2004, and yet because they weren't used, they rusted. So, brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture. And I live in Florida, so there's a lot of humidity here. It's 80% all the time. So the bottom line is flushing the brakes, even on a vehicle, and this is something I learned, James, and I knew better. Even flushing the brakes on a vehicle that sits is a must-do every 5 years, let's say, 3 to 5 years, because you don't drive it that much, and so you don't have the hot, cold. So that's one thing. With regard to the battery tender, we don't use battery tenders as you and I are the vernacular here. We use a digital, and I use an Optima made digital. It's a digital 400. It is a smart box with a computer, and it actually has a device in it and wiring so that it oscillates back and forth voltages that desulfates and decalcifies the plates of the battery. So when it is not charging, which is most of the time, it is still maintaining the battery and also tickling the battery back and forth. Now, when it reaches and sees that the battery is below a certain voltage, and let me back up. Every 20 seconds, this little digital unit pings the battery and says, how you doing? How's the voltage? Otherwise, it's not connected. So and then with regard to fire, that's a 4-letter word that I have for my 48 years, 9 months in automotive service business, always been paranoid about. And a local shop, not 8 blocks from me, burned to the ground because one of the employees left a battery charger, a commercial charger hooked up to a car one night, and you know the rest of the story. So I'm with you 100%, except for the digital chargers. They are not of a fire because, number one, they don't have the power to create the heat. The unit just gets warm to the touch, at the best, and they don't have the power to create the heat like a real charger does, and nor do they have the amperage load, so they don't generate the heat. And once if there's a battery's wrong connected or the battery's bad, they don't work anyway. In fact, if you took a dead battery and hooked up the unit, it's not going to recognize it because it has to have some voltage there before it says, oh, okay, I'm good to go now. So you don't have to worry about that. And so I do recommend, and here's what's really neat, James. You can take one of these units and you can buy the 4-wire connector with 25-foot extensions, and you hook this one unit to 4 different cars simultaneously, and the unit will ping each of those batteries, and which one needs a hit. It charges that battery until another battery is lower, and then it charges the other battery. So you have 4 cars that are being maintained at the same time, and this is a smart box that does it. It's like $90. I'm telling you, if you don't have one, if you've never had one, you'd call me back in a year and say, Bobby, that is the neatest thing since, Now, with regard to K-Seal and Berryman oil rejuvenator, I think both of those products are fantastic to be used in those situations. And let me tell you this too, because you wouldn't think about it. Come in, Alex, and one think about it. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, bring me a cup of coffee. Right. When you get old, I'll wait on you. So and thank you so much. I appreciate that. So James, when Ford Motor Company, Chrysler, and the big 3 and GM, for years, this is early on, this has been 30 years, 40 years, 20 years ago, they added a stop leak to every new engine as a little forgiveness factor, which is what you just mentioned. And the stop leak was there to prevent porosity leaks, because at that time metallurgy wasn't like it is today. Engines weren't as close tolerance as today, and it was a great forgiveness. And to that end, every time we service a cooling system, well, not every time when I can remind my guys that we perform a cooling system service and then add the additive, we add a stop leak. Why? Because when you flush out, it's like a transmission. When you flush out the old stuff, it was okay till you flushed it. So you always use the additive. So that's a great idea for the Berryman engine oil rejuvenator, and also, of course, for the K-Seal, which and people. When I say people, James, I'm talking about my technicians. I mean, you'd be surprised. I had Johnny Bars, who's a master ASE technician, thinks that one spark plug that a car didn't come with a spark plug is different. Let me tell you something. There's not a brand name spark plug out there that's any better or worse than the other one. To a point. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about those things. It's like saying which is best, the Michelin or the Goodyear or the Firestone or what have you. Well, it depends. It all depends on the application. So in your case, and I would definitely recommend the Optima Digital 400 charger with the 4-gang accessory that you have to buy, but it's well worth the money, and I agree with you. What else? Now, just a little short time. I know we said short time, but back to you for 20 seconds.
One more thing. What do you think K-Seal would do to a water pump leak?
Well, K-Seal, that's a great question. Man to man, K-Seal advertises it stops leaks permanently in engine blocks and head gaskets, and they mention in their marketing water pumps. So I can go either way there. I don't think that if the water pump seal is leaking because the surface of the shaft, you know how you've seen those, is bad. I don't think that K-Seal is going to stop that, but I think if you had a gasket, and most of the times in my Jag had 4 water pumps, so it's ridiculous. They had to change the design of it. I think if you got a gasket leaking where the pump is bolted on, which is common, I think that it would stop the water pump leak there, because when I think of water pump leaks, you have to define what you're saying there. Are you talking about a shaft leak, or are you talking about a gasket leak or a gasket surface to block? So yeah, by all means, I think it's a go, and I think we're on to something here that would help a lot of people with that have cars and we're not talking about patching cars. We're just talking about being proactive with products that we know work. So I really appreciate your call.
Okay, well, thank you for your advice, and very nice talking to you, and enjoy your coffee.
Thank you. I am doing that. Thanks, James. Appreciate that. I normally make my own when I come in, but I ran out of the little single cup things. And let's go to Stan in Illinois. Stan, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, hi, Bobby. I've got a 2011 Ford F-150, 3.5 turbo, about 90,000 miles. And I was changing the oil recently, and when I went to open up the oil cap to put oil in, there was kind of a milky sludge there.
Yes, sir.
And I know what happened. I did it myself. I had a local job about a mile away for about 6 to 8 weeks,
Exactly.
and the car just never got,
Exactly.
the truck just never got warmed up.
Okay. Not to worry.
But,
not to worry.
So my question is, I cleaned everything off I could with a paper towel, and my question is, do I need to do anything else? Does it just go away when the engine heats up, or do I need to do something else?
That's a common problem. There's nothing wrong with that. I too live 4 miles from my home to the studio, and although I don't get condensation buildup to that extreme, if I pull my oil cap, when I pull my oil cap off, which is black plastic with a rubber O-ring, it's a Jag V8 5 liter, and I look under the cap at the interior wall of the cap, it looks like you took caramel. In other words, it's not oil, it's not black plastic with oil on it, it's black plastic with a film of caramel buildup. And that is caused by the same issue with condensation on my automobile, although I do get it warm and I do exercise it extremely sometimes. But in your case, that 1 mile trip is the worst thing possible. So here's what you really need to do is make sure that when you, I got a break. I'm not going to squeeze in. Stay right there. I do have an answer for you, but it's all good. It's all good. Don't go away.
Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices. That our favorite singer is still alive? That we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags? And of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service. And that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website. A living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost. And most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by the Car Care Council. Folks, April, believe it or not, April, but a perfect timing, is National Car Care Month. And it's never been more important than it is today to keep your vehicle safe and dependable. You can visit carcare.org for a number of fantastic tools, including tips, service schedules, videos, and more. Go to carcare.org. Oh, and while you're there, you can get a car guide for your glove box that is free and courtesy of, not me, courtesy of carcare.org, Car Care Council. Okay, and me too. Anyway, it's a great service. It's great to have. And it's good information. And just like on Saturday mornings, Bobby Likis Car Clinic is great information. We'll go back to Stan. So, Stan, here's the bottom line. You know it. And folks, we're talking about this creamy, you pull the oil cap off your vehicle that you don't drive far enough every time you crank the car to get the oil up to operating temperature. And Stan, here's the bottom line. All the vapors, as you know, steam rises. So the vapors that are just trying to get burned out of this oil, because condensation builds in every internal combustion engine when you fire it, it collects at the uppermost part, which is inside the cam cover, the valve cover, which is where the oil filler cap is, which is even at a higher point. So the thing for you to do would be to change your oil based on time and not miles, and no less than twice a year. So that, number one, you drain out all that oil, even though you say, well, I don't want to waste that oil. It only has 1,200 miles on it. It doesn't matter. That is more important to get the moisture out and run it, and that will, and then clean the cap, and that's really all you have to do. There's nothing going on there. And I'll want to do one more quick short story here. Since 2004, I've stored my Porsche. It's air-cooled, so there's no cooling system leak. There is no cooling system except for the air, right? So I replaced, and I used to crank the car every week or every 2 weeks because I was doing my due diligence because I want to make sure it fired off. This is like since 2004. Well, lo and behold, I checked the oil, and to check the oil, it's a oil tank, because it's a dry sump. You had to pull the oil cap off, and the dipstick is located inside the neck. Well, the oil cap I had to replace 3 times because it rusted with moisture. So about 10 years ago, I learned, hey, you can't crank this car up like people think you can. Crank it up once every 3 months, but only when I'm going to drive it 30 minutes or run it 30 minutes to get the oil hot, so that the vapors that I create and the condensation start with by cranking it is boiled out. And that's the end of the story. You got it?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yeah. Thank you, Bobby. I just wanted to say I've been listening to you for 20 years, and initially in the Daytona Beach area, and then later on in North Platte, Nebraska, and I'm in Illinois that doesn't have a local radio station, so I'm watching your podcast. So I really appreciate what you do.
I really appreciate your following us and your trek across the world and the states at least. And I thank you so much for seeking us out. And by the way, I'll remind you and the folks now that we are available. We've expanded the distribution. If you go to carclinicnetwork.com, that's our website, Car Clinic Network, and you look on the lower right-hand side, you can click on our library. It's just Car Clinic Library /podcast. And listen to this. Now we're on iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Castbox, Deezer. I don't even know what Deezer is. Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and as I said, iHeartRadio. So, Stan, I'm glad that you can find us. And thank you so much for your call and for your kind words. Take care, and we cleared up a lot of cloudiness there for a lot of people when it comes to low mileage, not driving the vehicle far enough to get the engine up to operating temperature and maintain it there long enough to cook out the condensation that every engine creates. Thanks again. Now we'll go to Pennsylvania. Chris, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I hope you and yours are well and stay that way.
Thank you. We are. Same to you.
I called a couple of weeks ago about undersized winter tires, a link that I found on Tire Rack. And
yes.
As a result, okay, so you remember the call. I'll make it quick since I know you're running out of time.
Yes, sir.
I found the link on Tire Rack that recommends undersized tires, either in terms of tread diameter ratio or the actual diameter of the wheel itself. And I wanted to send that to you, and I wonder how to do that.
Okay. Bobby at carclinicnetwork.com. That's my personal email. Don't give it out. Bobby at... Yeah, right. I mean, it is. It is. It's the only email I have. Well, I have other emails, but it really is. It's my personal email. Bobby at carclinicnetwork.com. Yeah. Car Clinic Network. And Car Clinic Network is all one word, not case sensitive. So that's Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at carclinicnetwork.com. Do send that. And after our conversation, I didn't forget, Chris, I also looked online, and you were right. The general consensus is that you can downsize, and lo and behold, what I learned was that what that tire would do would go deeper into the soft snow and get better traction.
That's what I thought, that it would kind of knife through.
Yeah.
No, but the downside, it's not a major downside because it helps you get to where you're going.
Right.
Was that it does screw up the mileage computer and it throws off the speedometer as well.
Yeah, I hear you. I could tell you some stories about how sophisticated cars are these days, and if I have time, I'll share one about my gas mileage. And when I check my gas mileage. Well, anyway, I won't go into that because I don't have time. But Chris, thanks for calling back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Let's go to Owego, New York. Owego, New York. Jesse, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How you doing, my friend?
Good morning from Kung Fu Central Valley.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. I love you guys up there.
I got a while. Oh, we're holding out. We're holding our own. We're doing all right.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What's up?
I got one of the weirdest, strangest stories for you when you talked about, or when that caller talked about the ding-ding story.
Yeah.
Brought up some. I had the weirdest thing happen. I had an old 1987 Ford dump truck, and I would have to make garbage runs. The weirdest thing is when I would go across this one certain set of railroad tracks, it would set off the warning lights and the gates would come down.
Your truck would set off the warning lights for the railroad track?
Absolutely.
Well,
and it was the strangest thing. And I would go across the tracks, the gates started coming down, so I booked it, and I got across and the warning lights went off.
Well,
so so what I did is I went to the dump. I didn't think much of it, and I came back, and when I went across, it did it again. So I waited a few weeks, and I had to make a lot of garbage runs. I says, "Can I use that 1987 Ford?" And they go, "Why?" I go, "I got something I want to test out."
Yeah.
So I went across the railroad tracks, and warning lights went on. I shut the engine off and coasted, and the lights went out. So somehow that truck was generating enough RF interference to set up them singles. That's all I can guess.
Yeah. I guess they use motion. I don't know. It would appear to me that I don't know. We could find out, but the trains, usually, they have to have some motion detector signal, because the engineer, the train conductor or engineer doesn't put the warning rails down. Well, in '87, I mean, I don't know. That's really strange. They use anechoic chambers. I've actually been in one in Detroit, and especially in the '80s and '90s, but actually in the late '70s and '80s, they with all the the oncoming computers, they put these cars on a dyno inside this anechoic chamber, and they bombard the car with RF frequencies of all kinds to see if they can make the car chatter or the computer quit. And we've all heard about, when the police want to stop a car, they can push a button and kill that car ahead of time. I'm sure that if it's a Tesla, and I'm sure that today's cars, that probably could be done, but it would not be accidental. It would be through a program, and that car would have to be with GPS. It'd have to have some reach out. It'd have to have some connection to the satellite or to a cell phone. That's the whole point. Without a connection, I mean, a cell phone is a beautiful device to have, but if the battery's not in the cell phone, it's dead. Dead is dead. Anyway, hey, Jesse, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. A friend of mine had a first-generation cell phone in his Mercedes, which was the size of a 2x2, 2 foot by 2 foot by 10-inch high box that they mounted in the trunk, and it was a Mercedes. And he was a very successful businessman. That was before cell phones, mobile phones, and cars. And actually, it was a transmitter that transmitted to the local Bell tower, and would use the local Bell service. And every time he stepped on the microphone, he keyed the mic, the ABS would break, and we had to wrap the ABS module in tinfoil to stop that. Anyway, thanks for your call. I got to go. As always, good to hear from Owego, New York. And by the way, folks, New York is the land of hospitality, if you didn't know. I know. Let's go to Tyler, Texas. John, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. I appreciate you taking my call.
My pleasure, John. What can I do for you?
I have a Nissan Rogue that I'm starting to have trouble with. Apparently, the brake rotor's warping.
Yes, sir.
The rotors were replaced twice under the initial 36,000-mile warranty.
Got it.
And they would not tell me, if it was just warping or it was one particular rotor. I'm wondering, if you have experience with drilled and slotted rotors warping more,
you have asked me a question. I mean, it's like that question is so simple to me. It's like, did I just have a cup of coffee that my friend fixed for me? The answer is absolutely. We have one customer who drives an 07 Tundra that I've talked about, had 500,000 miles on it. Now it has 600,000 miles on it. And, I mean, literally, we've serviced that vehicle since 6,000 miles. So he comes in about 2 weeks ago, and so what have we done? We put one transmission at 300,000. We put a water pump, alternator, air conditioning systems, tires, brakes. To that point, the front brakes would last 30,000 miles for John. And that would be it. And we tried everything, every trick in the book. So John comes in the last time. This is now, remember, 30,000, 35,000, and the brakes are warped, and it's terrible. And you can't. Why machine them? Just put another set on there. And we tried all the different brands that I knew. And we even tried, there's a brand called Akabono, and Akabono is a big company in Europe that created and brought ceramic brakes to the States in 1987 to OEMs. But not all of them gave problems. Well, under this driver, okay. So I have to caveat there. So here's what we did the last time. And this was 26,000 miles ago, as of 2 weeks. And he's got 600,000 miles on this vehicle. The brakes, and I personally looked at them because the whole crew brought me over. The brakes look like they have 3,000 to 5,000 miles on them. He's got 26,000 miles on them, and we put on drilled and slotted aftermarket rotors. It was at his, and funny thing, you learn every day. I mean, just because you're in the business 100 years doesn't mean that you know everything, or any business. He says, let's try drilled and slotted rotors, and we did, and I'll be darned if it didn't work. So I can assure you, and I forget what brand that he wanted to buy, but anyway, I'll dig that up, and if you call me next week, I'll know, because I'll ask Rusty and the guys. But by all means, replace those factory units with drilled and slotted rotors and the matching rotor pads that come with it, and you will be a happy camper. I know that.
That's good news.
Okay. Hey, thanks for your call. I got to go. So I have one more call, Joseph, and I'm going to go to him. But before I do, I want to announce the winner of the jacket. Now here, it's a Car Clinic jacket that has leather sleeves. It has a combination wool fiber black body with nice snaps, and the pockets have red leather openings, little pleats there. And this is one of 20 that I had made 15 years ago. A friend of mine lost his father and inherited a system. And anyway, the bottom line, the winner is Chris from Pennsylvania. So Chris from Pennsylvania, congratulations on being the winner of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Folks, I got to share this with you. What month is this? It's Car Care Month. And here's a drive-away vehicle check. And this is from our friends at the Car Care Council. Consider the following items here. Just listen. Check all the fluids, the engine oil, the power steering, the brake, and the transmission. Check the hoses and belts for cracking or fraying or overall signs of excessive wear. Check the tires, tire pressure and tread level. Check the wipers and all of the lights. Not only do you want to see with your lights, you want to be seen. For more information, including the Car Care Guide that I really love to give away, go to carcare.org. That's carcare.org. You got it? Good. Next week, you, me, the telephones, and more car talk. Stay well, stay healthy, and tune in from 10 till noon. I'm Likis.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Insurance 101, courtesy of Grundy Insurance. Uninsured motorist liability and underinsured motorist liability are both important aspects of vehicle insurance, as they can protect you against an at-fault driver who is not insured or doesn't have enough insurance. Important to note, the definition of who's insured refers to people, not vehicles listed on a particular policy. So the uninsured or underinsured limits you select for your policy for your everyday cars will transfer over to you when driving your collector car. Find out more at Grundy.com. That's Grundy.com.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here.